All right, so for today's pairing, I wanted to start with something very simple and classic. So the first cereal that came to mind was Honey Nut Cheerios, and in terms of wine, a Pinot Grigio, which I absolutely love. And as you can see, we've got the B on the label, so we're going to see what kind of honey we can make. So this is the 20 B's Pinot Grigio from the Lakeview Winery from Niagara on the Lake, the biggest wine region in Ontario. It's definitely the type of wine I grew up with because it's local, it's cheap, it's intermediate, but somewhat in the middle between dry and sweet, but a little bit more on the sweet side with a bit of extra sugar. So, one of the reasons I chose this is because the label says notes of honeysuckle as well as an array of fruits on the sweeter side, more citrusy. There's some green apple, white peach, lemon, zest, and grapefruit. So, a fun wine fact. Let's get started with that. The grape Pinot Gris is a mutation of the Pinot Noir grape, and its origins were first recorded in the Burgundy region of France during the Middle Ages. However, it eventually spread to Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and Italy. And today, France's biggest wine region for the country is the Alsace regions, which sits right on the border of France to southwest Germany and northern Switzerland, which kind of shows you the trajectory of how the grape traveled across Europe since it was discovered. And a fun cereal fact, Honey Nut Cheerios were the second spin-off of the Cheerios cereal to hit the market. The first one was called Cinnamon Nut Cheerios, which debuted in 1976 with little success. And Honey Nut Cheerios then came in 1979, and it was a big hit, advertising the sweeter, more kid-friendly taste of honey and nuts, while still retaining all the health benefits that the original Cheerios were known for at that point, including high soluble fiber, which can help lower cholesterol and regulate blood sugar levels. Now, there are lots of different ways to eat cereal, specifically the cereal to milk ratio and how long to let it soak before you eat it. So, for the purposes of this experiment, I'm going to try to replicate how I would normally eat a bowl of cereal. And for the ratio, I'm going to start with a 2 to 1. Just after a quick Google search, that seems to be the standard. And then just eyeball it to see if that looks right. So, getting started, we're going to add 2 scoops of cereal. And we're also going to add our 1 scoop of milk. This is soy milk. And the time that we came up with was 45 seconds. So that's going to be our soak time when we actually start our wine and cereal pairing. Now, I've had this wine a number of times before, but we're going to start off with a little bit of taste to set expectations. Just a dab. And yeah, you can feel kind of the honeyish texture. It's not overly sweet. It's not overly dry. It really is like one of those somewhere in the middle wines for me. All right, so for our taste, we are going to stick with our 2 to 1 ratio. Let's give her 2/3 of our Honey Nut Cheerios. We're gonna pour our wine, and then once it goes in, we're gonna give it 45 seconds to set and mix a little bit, and then we're gonna do our taste test. And that's time. So we're gonna give this a taste now. It's not bad, but there's a really strong contrast between the aftertaste of the wine and the immediate sweetness of the cereal. They're very, very separate in terms of, one versus the other. They're not really melding together very well. Yep. Like you can feel the sweetness of the cereal and the wine. They're both kind of present, but you definitely taste the very wine heavy texture in the swallowing. So yeah, it's not anything to write home about. It's not bad by any means either. It just it tastes like you mix two things, and you know, both of those things are very distinct in the actual experience. It doesn't really seem to mix together super well in terms of like combining together to create a new and fantastic flavor that you wouldn't expect. I'm gonna give it one more go. Yeah, no, I feel like I'm eating these two separate ingredients that just happen to be kind of placed together in one area. So for a first attempt, I would say that this isn't awful. There's nothing about the flavor that's super off-putting or offensive to the senses by any means. It's nothing really to write home about either. Yeah, I would say that this is a good starting point. You know, nothing terrible just yet. I just wouldn't really call this good either. So yeah, I would say off the top of my head, I would probably give this 2 spoons.